Today is Sunday, March 12th, 2017. This is Celtics Beat on CLNS Radio, and I am Larry H. Russell. I watched like the first 3.5 quarters. I was so disinterested because I watched it on replay, and I just turned it off. They weren't there. They weren't there for that one.
No,
they were tired. What is it like being at the? What's it like being at the end of the West Coast road trip? Those were games that you guys were always, when you played, you were susceptible to drop. I remember when you swept the Texas Triangle, you would drop one in New Orleans or whatever. Well, what is like that dreaded last game of a road trip like?
No, that's that's. Sometimes players think like, man, I need to get home, get some rest in that last game, especially if it's in Denver. The altitude out there is crazy. So, the last road game, we usually drop one. Not because lack of focus, but sometimes our jump shots wasn't going in and stuff didn't go our way early. And, stuff happens after that.
Yeah, the Celts under Brad Stevens have actually been pretty good at that, right? I mean, they beat Dallas earlier in the year, and there's always either the last game of a road trip's always the toughest, and the first game back from home, which they actually have to do later today against Chicago on a short break. But they've been tough about that. But we are here with Leon Powe on episode number 200 of Celtics Beat, which this week is being brought to you by SeatGeek and Casper. Casper, an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price, because everyone deserves a great night's sleep. How about that? Wow, what a perfect shout-out for this. By the way, get $50 off any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/Celtics and enter promo code Celtics. Leon, thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday morning. We greatly appreciate you being here.
Oh, yeah, anytime. Always a pleasure.
Earlier in the road trip, it's like a weird road trip. Talk about the highs and lows of the. I know players. When you played, you certainly stay out of the madness as much as you possibly can. But following it in the media aspect. Once upon a time, way back yonder, after that Phoenix loss and even the Clippers game, it is exhibition baseball season in Boston here after all, so they do have to find something to talk about, and something to talk about likely occurred back on Monday against the Clippers of, oh my God, is it Isaiah Thomas or Brad Stevens that really got to that extreme? And of course that is laughable. But one of the somewhat storylines of this season is that Brad Stevens has been experimenting lineups all year, right? And even in that Nuggets game on Friday, I don't know if this is the case of he wanted to give guys some rest or whatever, but they played something like 9 minutes together. You were on a pretty famous team here back in 2008. You won a championship that year. Yes. One of the I thought people don't really remember about that with that team was, remember Doc Rivers, he coached it, but you guys never had a rotation that year. No, we really didn't have a set rotation besides our, KG, Paul Pierce, our main guys, and Ray Allen. So we really didn't have a set rotation, but our way we played it was we rolled with the hot hand. So whoever got hot, and it was matchups as well too. So sometimes they needed more physicality, and that'll be me. They'll put me out there, and sometimes it's Big Baby. Sometimes they needed more floor spacing, and then they'll put sometimes Scal, sometimes Baby, sometimes Posey, and then it just depends. If we're going against a matchup where we needed more defense out there. And then that'll be me and Posey. So we mix up the lineups all the time based on who we play. You never played till the end of January that year. You had that big breakout game against the Sixers, and then it was just sort of off and away from there. And then there was also the funny ones. Do you remember when Doc brought like a stone cold Tony Allen off the bench for like pivotal moments in the do you remember that? Game 5 out in L.A. Tony Allen doesn't play for like 2 months. All of a sudden he's in for the most important minutes of the game out in Los Angeles, and I just remember. You remember that?
Oh yeah. No, Doc will do that, and if he sees something out there, he'll throw you out there. Like the game when we came back in L.A. From like 26 down to win that game.
24. Don't give yourselves too much credit.
24. Okay? Yeah. Well, I give myself some extra credit. It's okay. We got to pump ourselves up every once in a while. But But yeah, we came back from 24. Doc, I haven't touched the ball the whole game. He put me in. He was like, all right, it's a minute left. I'm like, okay. And then he said, this is what we're going to do. We down 4 with a minute left. He said, we're going to do a clear out, and we go into Leon. And everybody was like, Coach, he ain't touched the ball the whole game. It's like, no, we going to Leon. He got the mismatch, and he gonna deliver. So that's kind of like how he coached and how he went about things. But he believed in his players, and he had confidence in them to get the job done.
Yeah, but you got it done in game 2 or in that game. I just remember Tony coming off the bench, and it's interesting too about the generations of NBA fans. We now know Tony Allen as what's he called, the grind father or whatever. Back then he was he was on roller skates, like an absolute kamikaze pilot. He would have the heart was in their throat with Leon,
yeah.
But excuse me, with Tony, not with you.
Yeah.
Of course, you meant to reference the comeback game. Did you give Jimmy Pallotta was in the quarter or the Lakers bench that game? That's my memory of that game. But anyways, today, so you were on that team that never had a set rotation. What do you think of really what Brad Stevens has been doing? Who here we are on Sunday, March 12th, 2017. Coming off of playing the starters 9 full minutes Friday night in a blowout loss. What we both now agree is a throwaway game. And I'll call it a throwaway game because I didn't watch much of it. I turned it off in a lot of disinterest. But what do you think about Brad just continuing to experiment with the lineups here? And there's, of course, Isaiah Thomas said something about it earlier in the week.
Yeah, Brad Stevens is a great coach, man. He's proven over the years that he can coach this team and he know what he's doing. So our guys they follow him. And then for the lineups, like I said, 2008 we didn't have like a set rotation. Sometimes it's based on matchups, and then and sometimes it's based on feel. And I think Brad Stevenson, that's what sometimes he's doing. He's like, okay, well, my guys ain't got it going. Let me try to get somebody else out there to see if they can get it going. Because sometimes when you losing or when you ain't got no energy, coach is always trying to find something to pick up the energy, somebody to get things going, to start it off. So I think that's what he's doing. That's what he's been doing the last couple games. And sometimes you do need some rest as well, and you don't want to run your starters rugged also. But our lineups, we haven't. Our team been in and out of injury. We've been getting injured lately, so we ain't have our starters ain't been out there as much anyway all season. Our full team.
Yeah, best case, I was actually even thinking that if they were going to put in that type of effort back on Friday, you may as well just pull a San Antonio Spurs and then just ship it back home for today's game against Chicago, because that's actually like a little tough spot in that they were out rest for the 8 days, and not only do they have just the one rest day, but they got to come back and play an afternoon game later today, which is always kind of a struggle game. But would you give the player perspective of this the challenges of developing chemistry with all these different 5-man units that you got to play with? It's much different than say baseball, like a relief pitcher coming into the game and in the 7th inning instead of the 8th or whatever like that. I mean, you have to know who you're passing to and just develop. So talk about the very general. Go ahead, Leon.
Yeah. You want to know who's out there with you. You want to know, who you giving the ball to. But sometimes it's just sometimes you got to go with the flow, and sometimes it's just like I said, coaches, they're gonna try to find anything to get going. If somebody don't have it going, you might want to get him out there, pull him out, and then put somebody else in to try to pick up the energy. But our starting lineup and for our team, we've been hurt like all year. We didn't have our full team. I think we like with our full lineup. I think we dropped probably 1 or 2 probably. I think we like 18 or 19 and 7, something like that together. But we haven't been out there the whole time. So I think the guys by now are used to playing with different lineups.
Sean Graney's good about tweeting that out. I think you are correct on that number, although, yes, you are right. They did lose with their full lineup back on Friday in Denver.
Yeah.
What about Brad's comment before the Warriors game, I think, where he said the Celtics were not as good as their record? Of course, I don't know if that lit a spark on them, if that was like the primary reason lit a spark on them. Of course, that gave them pretty much their signature win of the season. What do you think? I've actually said that kind of most of this year, and I've pointed to the point differential being a little low. They're actually overachieving by 3 wins on their Pythagorean win-loss record. Where do you? I mean, do you have any opinion on that? What Stevens' little assessment of the team and that they're quote unquote not as good as their record? Or is it Bill Parcells? You are what your record says you are.
Yeah. Well, you are what your record says you are, but I think sometimes coaches do stuff to get their team fired up as well. So, but I do think we got a pretty good team. But like it's the Eastern Conference. If you said we was playing against our matchups, we number 2 seed. Say we number 2 seed to finish the season off, and we playing. I don't care. We can name anybody that's in the playoff. We won't. We not sweeping nobody. So it'll be a tough challenge for
Detroit?
us. You know.
You wouldn't sweep Detroit?
Yeah, it'll be a tough challenge. Like Detroit play us tough all the time. They always play us tough to the end. So it's not no easy cakewalk. Just because if we're a 2 seed, even a 1 seed, but we gotta play. We still gotta come out there and focus. I think that's what Brad Stevenson was really doing, is telling his team, like, man, we ain't got no time to relax. We ain't got no time to play around. We got to get the ball rolling. We got to come out here focused every game to win.
I think they could sweep Detroit. They've actually been. You're right. They've been 4 good games actually. Excuse me. They did win 3 or 4. That one game, the Detroit guards did go off, but there were 2 very close games out in Detroit. Actually, your man Jaylen Brown in that game. I don't know.
Did good.
What can I call? He's not a fellow alum of yours. So he came out a little early, but
Yeah. Well, you went to Cal Berkeley. You know, he know the whole culture and everything over there with the area I'm from, and because he was out there a year. So I call him my young rook.
How much did you watch him when he was at Cal? I confess to not watching much of him and then developing such a staunch opinion on him when the Celtics drafted him. And said opinion was not very high, by the way.
I know everybody had a opinion. For the from the West Coast, everybody on the East Coast really don't be up that late. Besides myself, but I went back and I went to some games as well. I went to some games with the team and hung out with them a little bit to see what was going on. And I like this game. His game was pretty unique. I like this game. He was physical. He was strong. He loved going to the rack. Jump shot needed work, but hey, that's almost what every youngster almost coming out going to the league. Jump shot is going to be a little up and down.
Why did he struggle there, and why is he? Why did he struggle there, and why is he playing pretty? He actually was pretty much of a brightish spot in the Denver game, but why did he struggle in Cal, and why is he playing fairly well here?
Yeah, sometimes when I watched him at Cal, he tried to take on the whole burden by himself sometimes, and do a little too much, and that will get him in some trouble. Will get him in a lot of trouble when I watch the games. But here, he got a lot of players, and he's picked up his play over the last few months, and because we had a lot of injuries, and he's been out there a little bit more. His minutes increased as well. So as a young guy, when your minutes increase, you playing meaningful games, and you should get better, because if you put the work in which he does, you should be able to get better. The floor is more wide open in the NBA, as you know, the spacing and everything. So you got a little bit more room to operate, and he's playing under control. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that Bradley injury, you hate to say a guy get hurt, but the Bradley injury back in, mid-January, it was a blessing for him. If there ever was a reference, it actually doesn't go back to an injury, but if you remember, obviously, on your 2008 championship team, one of the storylines going into that year was, the Celtics don't have a veteran point guard. They're really going to need Sam Cassell when Sam Cassell eventually gets bought out by the Clippers. And in that whole process, Rondo and even Kendrick Perkins kind of played out of necessity as young guys, and they developed along with that team. You could sort of say there's some sort of correlation here with Jaylen Brown, your fellow Cal Golden Bear. I have to get a little NCAA shout-out in because I heard there is a upcoming college basketball tournament thing, something like that. It's beginning on Tuesday, actually, because of the play-in game. But Go to the best way to win money in the upcoming NCAA March Madness by going to mybookie.ag for the best and fastest payouts. MyBookie will match your first deposit with a 50% bonus. So that's right. Deposit about $100, and they'll tack on another $50 by entering promo code CB50. That's promo code CB50. CB50 at mybookie.ag or by calling 844-900-BETS. So, actually, too, about Jaylen, one more thing. Did Danny ever consult with, because he asks everybody for their opinion on everything. He'll ask the guy, running coffee for him, what do you think about trading this guy for that guy? Did he consult with you at all on Jaylen Brown in the lead up to that draft?
Yeah, I talked to Danny about Jaylen Brown. Yep. I knew some, because I said I went back there a few times to watch him, and my other young guy too is coming up from that area. Yeah, I talked to Danny. He loved Jaylen Brown. He loved his athletic ability, what he could do. He think his potential was very high, which it is, and he loved the way he worked, his work ethic. That's all you heard from coaches and everybody about his work ethic. Like he loves to work.
I was hoping we were going to assert that to you. So I'll ask you: is he going to be the best Celtics small forward of all time? That's a Simon Says question. I was hoping to catch you here. It was early in the morning. I
won't go all that, but it's too early. But I got the utmost confidence in him because he worked hard. Because if you want to be great, that's good because you're gonna be in the gym late. You're gonna stay after practice. You're gonna do whatever it takes to be great, and that's what you want from a young guy. Is just to be able to work hard and develop and really learn.
I was hoping you were going to give me that for an answer. I was just making sure that you were awake we had to have a little fun here, Leon.
Yeah.
It is early on the Sunday morning. All right, so they're playing Chicago today. So I want to get into the Chicago Bulls because in Chicago. Before we even talk about the Bulls, because they are a good rebounding team. I hope I'm right in that saying. I haven't checked. I know they always seem to crush the Celtics on the glass out in Chicago. But anyways, the Celtics obviously they continue to struggle rebounding. They did so Friday night in Denver. They're second worst rebounding in the week. We know.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. We know. So how about? I mean, dare I say we know how well coached the Celtics are. And we knew coming into the year they, quote-unquote, were not going to be the best rebounding team in the NBA. But there – I mean, Tommy Heinsohn makes the point all the time. The only player that boxes out consistently on the team is Marcus Smart, really. Kelly Olynyk never gets a rebound in traffic. Al Horford is a good rebounder, not great. What is it? Is it more personnel or is there a little coaching in there in terms of the rebounding or you just
Well, for his rebound, you want to work on it. You want to work on it a little bit.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. You want to work on it a little bit, but you also got to have a mentality that you want to go get the ball and don't leak out and try to get points instead. And that's where you get hurt when you leak out a lot. So if everybody is on the same page, you gotta get in there and crash. But sometimes, we get caught looking, we get caught standing. Sometimes we leak out, and sometimes and we don't get the ball, and we got to realize that because that hurts us. That hurts us a lot. To be a good rebounder, you got to want the ball. First of all, you got to want to go get it. You got to think it's yours. You got to believe in it. That's what I did. I didn't want nobody else touching it, including my teammates. When Rondo tried to get in there and steal a rebound from me, I elbowed him in his face just because. You know what I'm saying? It's my rebound. That was my mentality. We got to have that same mentality. You don't want to hurt your teammates though, but that's what I did. So make sure that's my rebound. I wanted to rebound that bad.
Yeah, if I could use another cross-sport example, I'll reference the Patriots. Dante Scarnecchia is now an offensive line coach for them, and they as soon as he retired, the offensive line could not block for 2 years, and all of a sudden they bring him back. Yep. They can block. They win the Super Bowl. So I was wondering, can you kind of coach rebounding a little bit? And go ahead.
Yeah. You can coach it a little bit, but the guys out there on the floor gotta want it. They gotta want it, and they gotta go.
Do the players now want it?
The players gotta want the ball.
Do these guys want it? I'm putting you on the spot.
Rebound is usually all about effort. effort and willingness to go get the ball. And yes, you do got to put a body on somebody as well. Marcus Smart do that as well. He do that good, but it's just all about effort. And sometimes the coach can't put you out there and make you go get the ball. And so that's on the players.
How much of it is it too? You reference of it being kind of a mentality thing, and it can become contagious. Like a player stays late at practice, therefore everybody stays late at practice. A few players start moving the basketball, everybody starts being unselfish with the basketball.
Yep.
You talked about your rebounding mentality, and here I am kind of scratching your back a little bit again, Leon. But when you were on the Celtics, they were one of the best rebounding teams in 2008 and 2009. Then you left, or they let you go after your knee injury, and they spent the waning years of the Garnett years being one of the worst rebounding teams in the league. And of course, you weren't there that year, unfortunately, but they lost the championship in LA because they couldn't freaking get a rebound in that Game 7.
Yep.
So how much? I don't know if I can say how much or whatever, but you can, I guess, further elaborate on just the certain mentality of players having that spread throughout the team. Is that just not there now with these players, and there may be some flagrant offenders that do that?
Yeah. No, it's all about the player. It's all about the player, and like I said, when I was on the team, but I wanted to go get the ball regardless of even if my teammates used to say, "Oh, I got it." No, I don't believe that. I got the ball. I'll go get it because that's what I believe I needed to do to help my team win. And like I said, it's on the players. It's not on the coaches. And going to get the ball is an art. It's like it's more of a will. And you need to go get it. That means, like, I want to go get this ball because it's mine.
Sounds so easy the way you're describing it.
Yeah, it's a will. You got to have that will in you, and just to go get the ball because it's dirty work. You're getting in there, you're gonna get your tooth bust, your eye hit, you're gonna get hit in the head, you're gonna get hit in the nose, you're gonna have some scrapes and bruises. But oh well, you got to go get the ball because that's where the games are won, man. And like our team now. We don't all go get the ball. Sometimes we rely on one guy. Sometimes we rely on two guys, and the rest of us staying there. With our team now, got to be a collective effort. We can't just let the big he should be able to get this rebound. We can't assume nothing. We got to assume everything is a miss, and we got to go get it.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of rebounds off of free throws too. That's just really
that's boxing out.
Yeah,
that's boxing out.
Did you have a 20 rebound game here? I remember you had a huge game against Memphis. Like I want to say, was that the game, or you never had a 20?
I didn't have a 20 rebound game. No, I had a lot of points, a lot of blocks, and like 14, 15 rebounds, something like that.
I remember 13, you had that.
Rebounds.
I remember that big game. I want to say it was probably a couple games after Garnett got hurt, and you just went off.
Yeah. I had a few good ones. Yeah, when they put me out there, 25 minutes or more. It's usually been more than 25 points.
Yeah. All right, so I got to get to the pregame today. They're playing Chicago, and of course, I think the key to the game is going to be to score more points than Chicago. We'll talk about today's game specifically later. So you were talking about the first round of the playoffs. That is a potential playoff matchup, and I think the Celtics are. I think if you were going to be filling out we're talking NCAA brackets, you're filling out a bracket. I would safely put them in the second round. Not sure after that. Washington, not a good matchup. Toronto, not a good matchup. Even without Lowry, God forbid if they even got Cleveland, that is not a good matchup for them. But first round, there's only one team that would concern me in the first round, and that is Chicago. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, Chicago is up and down. They wishy-washy. You don't know what you're going to get sometimes from night in and night out. But do you know who they do have on their team? And, D-Wade is always a guy that can turn back the clock. Even you've seen flashes from Rondo as well. And Jimmy Butler is going to play how he plays, consistent defense and trying to score on the offensive end. So in the East, they're a threat to mostly anybody, but it's just a matter of how they're going to play and will they play together and will they be on the same page, and that's where their downfall come in at. And I think we will be able to get them just by betting on that they won't be all together.
Would Jimmy Butler be the best player in the series?
I'm rolling with the IT guy, man. I'm rolling with the IT guy. I think IT is it would be. I think he would be the best player because his fourth quarter scoring and his intensity, and he just his will to win. He just want to win. I ain't seen a lot of guys, man, like that. They want to win, but they don't put it out there on the court. But he does, and I had to put my money on IT.
What was it, too, before we even specifically get to this game today? I was just thinking, too, about all this. Someone sent an email earlier about all these old matchups, and I'm going to get to that. And I remember a Celtics game against Chicago on Christmas, and it seems like in my entire life of watching the Celtics, which now goes over 25 years, as scary as that sounds, Chicago has been the Teutoburg Forest for them. I want to say they've maybe won like 6 times there or 7 times there in my life. I know you guys won a game there, but you were always susceptible to drop one. It's continuing. Why do the Celtics seem to always lose in Chicago? And they've already lost twice there this year.
I don't know. Chicago is a good. I like playing in Chicago, but it's a good place to play at. But yeah, we lost twice this year, and
2 gut wrenchers too. It wasn't like they were, they got pounded. They were, that was obviously the bad call, and then there was they had the big comeback, and then Wade hit a 3 at the end. But it just things don't seem to go Boston's way in Chicago for the last quarter century.
Yeah,
and you didn't do much about it either.
Yeah. Sometimes the ball don't bounce your way. Yeah, sometimes you don't get a call on the road, especially that one when we lost before the All-Star break. That was a crucial one, that call at the end. But you gotta roll with the punches, man. You gotta take that and try to move forward, especially if we have a matchup with them. But it's tough to win out there. It's tough for us because they crowd. They got a good crowd too. But we play them tough. They play us tough. And, we hopefully all we can do is hopefully come down to the last second, or we want to get blowout wins, but that's
preferred.
That don't happen.
That's preferred.
Yeah, that's preferred. Everybody wants those wins, but you don't get those wins all the time. So we just want to go out there and do the job that we need to do as far as on the defensive end, and knowing the assignment is what we got to do for us taking care of business and rebounding. But we don't get too many wins in Chicago, just to put it like that.
Yeah, rebounding is the big thing Chicago is. I have not checked it. I confess it's still too early in the morning, but they crushed the Celtics on the glass, both those games out in Chicago. That's going to be something to watch for the playoff series. And, of course, for today, they play 3:30, I think the game is at. I think it's an afternoon game on ABC, I'm pretty sure. But regardless of what it is, I'm pretty sure they are going to play the game regardless. So there are, just a few asks. One of them is, we referenced it earlier, the very quick turnaround from a long road trip and then to play an afternoon game. A very popular start time were those was like if you would play a Friday night out west, you would then come back and play at 6 o'clock here. I know it's just 2.5 hours. That's not a big difference, but it's a tough turnaround as is. I don't know if you want to talk just sort of randomly about that, or even just sort of those keys to the game outside of, hopefully the Celtics score more points than Chicago.
Yeah, no. When you've been on a long road trip, of course, and then you turn around, let alone you got to go home, which is you happy. You want to go home. You want to play at home. But you turn right around, and then you got to play on a Sunday at home at 3:30. Your timing is off. Everything is off. You still gonna have tired legs a little bit. You still gonna have some stuff to fight through, especially the early start time, and your routines is gonna be off. And your routines is gonna be off. So that's what players usually deal with, especially in early start times, and coming off a long road trip, their legs is gonna be tired still. And you just hoping, like I said, you hope they can all gather some strength and perform as a group, and meaning rebounding, because that's the main thing we got to take care of. Chicago is a strong rebounding team. They always usually beat us on the board, so to win that game, we got to take care of that. But we're going to have some ups and downs because we're coming off that road trip and our legs still going to be tired, and it's an early start time.
Yeah, slept on a plane, didn't get the best night's sleep. They're not the best rebounding team as is. Even just being a little, just that much more tired certainly should have helped. All right, so why not? Let's go at it. Give me a prediction, Leon, and of course, and why. You don't have to go with the hometown team.
I think
I'm putting a gun to your head right now.
Like, look,
your life is on the line.
Remember when you told me when Brad Stevenson made that comment,
not as good as your record.
We're not good as our record. It's based on any team basically could beat anybody. Like Chicago can come in here and beat us. So, and I know we know that. So we got to be on our game. So I think it's gonna come down to the wire. Like usually the game's been going when we play Chicago. Come down to the wire, and I think we're gonna win on some type of not second play, but a play that IT makes.
Ooh, he hasn't been making them recently. Is he in a little bit of a funk? Hey, how about that? Is he in a funk or is he tired or both?
No, I think he is just, he been doing so much. Hey, he can't play at that high level the whole year. Or
missing a few free throws.
He was playing at an absurd level though. He was shooting 65, 70% on ISOs and 55, 60% on jumps in the fourth quarter. He was killing it. So. He's going to get tired at some point, and which, he's going through a little bit of that right now, but I think he's still got a lot left.
Impressing Danny with those analytic numbers there. Is that where your future lies?
Yeah, no, I want to be a GM. I want to be a front office decision maker, and I want to own my own team one day. So I've been, I'm working. I'm still working. I got some stuff to do.
As the Celtics playoff push heats up, SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every game. With SeatGeek's seamless mobile experience, you can buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps. SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and it is by far the easiest way that I have found to shop for tickets. Boston has returned from their West Coast swing and have home games today against Chicago, against Jimmy Butler and the Bulls. And if you missed today's game, there is a real gem in town on Wednesday. No better place to get the best deals for Karl Anthony Towns' only visit to Boston as Minnesota comes to the Garden on Wednesday. And remember, it does not end with sports with SeatGeek. The SeatGeek app also has plenty of concert, comedy, and theater tickets available too. And best of all, Celtics Beat listeners can support this production and get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. To do so, download the free SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab, and click add a promo code and enter promo code CelticsBeat, all one word, and SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the free SeatGeek app and enter promo code CelticsBeat today. This edition of Celtics Beat, number 200, is also being brought to you by Casper. Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the cost. They are revolutionizing the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers and showrooms and passing that savings directly to the consumer. Made right here in the US of A, Casper mattress provides long-lasting comfort and support, as I know from personal experience. I have never used a mattress this soft and this comfortable, and you can buy it easily online and completely risk-free. Because Casper understands the importance of truly trying out a mattress that in all reality you spend a third of your life on. Casper offers free delivery and painless returns within a 100-day period, so you do not have to lie down in a showroom. Studies have now proven lying on a bed in a showroom has no correlation to whether it is the right bed for you. Get a Casper mattress for $500 for a twin or $950 for a king-size mattress, an unbelievable deal compared to industry standards that cost thousands upon thousands of dollars. And you can save an additional $50 as one of our audience members by going to Casper.com/Celtics and entering the promo code Celtics. That's Casper.com/Celtics and promo code Celtics. Free shipping applies to U.S. and Canada customers only. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, before we get to the mailbag, which I am going to bang out here, not on the Facebook page tomorrow because, well, I will not be around, and I do not want to let 2 weeks go by without answering some listener questions to those who take the time. But, yes, before we do that, I got to get to the upcoming ticket giveaway, which they are big ones, so right to it. 2 tickets for April 5th. Cleveland Cavaliers at Boston Celtics. Yes, Cavs v. Celtics on April 5th. One of the final regular season games of the season, so a game which could very well decide the number 1 seed here. We are going to be giving away 2 tickets to that game. So here we go. Entry, subscribe, rate, and review Celtics Beat on iTunes. Subscribe and write a review for Celtics Beat on iTunes. Many of you have done so, and for those who have not only is that feedback very important to us, but entry into unquestionably the game of the year. And the next ticket giveaway, get this, well, we're going to be doing the first round of the playoffs as well. So, yes, we are going to be giving away playoff seats here. We have done so. And I can say we will likely use the same means. So that means not only will your entry into this contest qualify you for Celtics Cavs seats, you get that review on our iTunes page, as that is how we see your name to enter you into the hat. So you don't win. That means you're still in for the next contest, which is going to be for playoff tickets. So there we go. One more time now. Subscribe and review Celtics Beat on iTunes to enter into our latest contest for 2 tickets for Celts and Cavs, as well as entry into our next giveaway, Boston Celtics playoff tickets. A game, of course, as we know, yet to be determined, but it'll be in the first round. All right. So, okay, mailbag. Let's start off with, as we always, start off with Twitter. So, for the future, tweet at me at CLNS_LHR. That is at CLNS_LHR. Leading off, one of the most loyal listeners to the show and loyal followers, at Merlin Kalo. Which freshman has the highest ceiling? You know, Merlin, I should have brought that up with Sam Vecini on last week's show. I guess this is where I can plug Sam's Game Theory podcast. Go listen to that, as always. Available on the CLNS Radio mobile app. Okay, so as I have confessed to, and I confessed it last week, and I will do so continue this week, I have seen plenty of highlights. However, I have still yet to watch a live game of Markelle Fultz. So I am going to exclude him from this just on that alone. So with that in mind, I will now go with Josh Jackson, as the question is, which of these players, or these freshmen, has the highest ceiling? Not which one, I guess, will be the best. So here, my reason for that is I think, and this is what I talked about with Sam on last week's show, I think Jackson's defensive impact is going to be smart-like. Especially for his position as a small, he really almost doesn't have position. I mean, already he has the ability to cover four, maybe even 5 positions on the opponent's side. And I mentioned with Sam last week him doing so in their game against Baylor, even going at Jonathan Motley, their big guy there. I mean, Jackson, he's just one of those guys with incredible instinct, at least in my eyes, in that Baylor game. He must have gotten his hands in the passing lane on like 5 plays, a lot of deflections. Offensively, obviously, he runs like a gazelle. He's a great finisher. Creating his own shot or making any shots, that's sketchy right now, but alas, goes back to the highest ceiling with him, because if he's able to round that part in, that's that ceiling as a dominant two-way guy, seemingly along the mold of a Kawhi Leonard, who is probably Jackson's best-case scenario. So how's that for a high ceiling? Okay, at Lonzo95 Pal, Winslow trade offer was so bad, I thought it was a typo as I read it. Yikes, that was scary. Talking about Danny Ainge non-moves from 2 weeks ago, I did so here with Steve Bulpett, and that's what I assume this tweet is in reference to. Yes, for as good of a GM as Danny Ainge is, and Mike Gorman has said this to me time and time again, he is a lucky you-know-what, hint behind the zipper. It's amazing all the non-moves that have just seemed to go Danny's and thus the Celtics way, and the Winslow non-deal back in 2015 seems to be yet another example of that. And I'd like to think, holding on to this Nets pick for this year in general, and even now next year too, if there were any recent possibilities out there, I think is going to provide another example of said fortune in non-Danny Ainge moves, which there were a lot of, which I referenced on episode number 198 of Celtics Beat, I believe. Yes, 2 weeks ago. 200 minus 2 is 198. Okay, last tweet from at Paul Smith 2K. Kelly Olynyk seems to play well in big games. Cleveland this year, Golden State last year. He was hurt in last year's playoffs. And to think this was sent out first in response to me, but before the Warriors game, which he may have very well been Boston's most valuable player in that win, maybe number 2 behind Avery Bradley. But whatever, great game, probably his best game of the year. And, I sent out a tweet after the Clippers game, maybe after the Suns game, but one of those losses. And I was just making a crack if that there was one player who I would worry about most in the playoffs, and for as much as I like him, especially with what he brings defensively, but if there was one guy I thought who would wilt under pressure in the biggest of games, it would be Kelly. But now, Paul, I don't know. Maybe he's just so aloof at times, or he's just so baked. If I had to do that one. But hey, he just plays in these games, so we hope this is a trend of Kelly Olynyk in these quote-unquote big games. We hope that continues, Paul. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's get a Facebook question here, and we can send these over to where my mailbag videos are usually posted, but this week, as I said, we're doing it here. But anyways, Facebook.com/CelticsBeat, Facebook.com/CelticsBeat. Nick Garza, LHR. Did you listen to Bill Simmons' Isaiah Thomas podcast? No, I did not. In it, he talked about how the Suns' loss is one of the 5 worst regular season losses in Celtics history, and cited previously Nick Van Exel's buzzer beater in the final Celtics-Lakers game at the Garden, a Vince Carter buzzer beater, among others. Okay, well, it was certainly a lousy loss, but considering I've been gearing myself towards this team having a fluky loss or 2 this year, considering how the Celtics have analytically been overachieving this year, that is kind of statistically proven, and I've been talking about it here for a few weeks, and on many other shows as well, Coach Nick's podcast, I brought it up. But they were due for an equally fluky or 2 losses that go against them. But I personally have some, I guess, of my own, if we're going to be in this worst regular season losses in Celtics history or your lifetime or whatever. But, just off the top of my head, 3 straight losses to the Lakers at the height of the Garnett era when that team was competing for titles against the Lakers. Christmas Day 2009, if anyone remembers that one, ended a 19-game winning streak, 18-game winning streak, something like that. 27-2, I do remember that one. Then the rematch in the Garden, like a month later, came down to the final shot. Pierce kicked it off his foot, and then Eddie House retrieved the ball. It was just a horrible, horrible, sickening loss. And then a year after that, Kobe hit a buzzer beater in the Garden, and the Lakers fans there rejoiced. And if anyone was at that game, didn't remember, I was at that. I remember after all those games where it felt like the Celts literally lost the finals game. They all came down to the final possession. They all seemingly at the time were deciding who got home court in the finals, or at least it felt like that. They felt like they were definitely more than one game in the standings. That they can say that. So, and they were just brutal when the Celts lost those. Even looking back on them, and even I remember how I felt after each and every one of those games. And for me personally, I felt like absolute crap. And if I got to reference one game where I remember feeling like absolute shit, that was Christmas Day against Chicago in '92, and I looked this up. The score was 121-99, blowout, right? That score does not do it justice and is in no way indicative of how bad that beating was. It was a freaking bloodbath. And considering that I was very, very young and was as emotionally invested into the team and outcomes as I ever was, the games were life and death. I was the epitome of diehard Celtics fan, especially at that age. But the Bulls, verifying how superior the world champion Chicago Bulls were to a paper tiger and decaying Celtics team. And it was also on Christmas, too. So, my God, anyone who remembers that one, there's no reason for me to explain anymore. That should be at the top of anyone's list. I think that's number one, that Bulls Christmas game. I'd say that's number one. The Van Exel game that Bill, I guess, referenced. I got a funny story on that. I actually remember that one well, not because it was a Lakers-Celtics or the final Lakers-Celtics game at the old Garden, but we remember the Celtics stunk. That was the infamous Dominique season, ML Carr running the team. I think we got Purvis Ellison, the X-Man, those jamokes, I think. Greg Miner, I think, was on that team, too. But that game, so the highlight that is out there and has been out there in the interweb space for eternity has been Chick Hearn's call of that game winner. Now, the Gorman-Heinsohn edition, I have yet to come across this in the 20-plus years since it aired, when I remember watching it on the old sports channel. But after that shot, the Celtics feed, which I watched, of course, growing up in Boston, but which I've yet to see since, I specifically remember had a camera angle which showed one of Van Exel's heels being out of bounds. And, of course, Tommy was none too pleased that the refs did not see that. That set off my little brother, and I can still see him right next to me, cry, screaming. Not, oh, we lost. Just cry, screaming from a 6-year-old kid who thought the Celts got absolutely screwed. And that was a norm for him, by the way, when we were growing up. Now, he did it all the time after Patriots losses, and they would go on throughout the night, and they did after that game. So like that Van Exel game on that alone was another. I think the sleepless night I got out of that puts that in there. But I still go with that Bulls Christmas game. For me, that's my personal number one. Shannon S., you always send me an email every week, and I apologize, and I confess to skipping them, and it's usually a list, like ranking Celtics trades or best Boston titles. But this week, I got a request from you to rank the 5 worst presidents in United States history. I can't really make any friends doing that, right? Nevertheless, I'm actually going to give it a go. Well, actually, sort of. Hold on here. First off, I actually put that as our bonus content for today's show. And also, I would also like to say that we go right to the top of the list. It's not a list, no top 5. It's just the worst. So I did my worst president ever as bonus content. So for those listening on the app, there it is. And to get access to the bonus content, if you want it, go ahead and download the CLNS Radio mobile app and listen to this show there for, of course, the access to the bonus content, which today, yes, is an answer to an email question, the worst U.S. president ever. So that's an AMA question. I haven't really gotten many of those. Let me get them from you, Shannon, I guess. Also, of course, too, download the CLNS app, listen to this show, and all the others on the network. Tomorrow, Celtic Stuff Live, available at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, later today, Celts Bulls postgame, call in live, 347-215-7771. After today's game. But that is all we have for this space. Episode number 200. So we now enter the first century. That was the golden age for Western Rome. I hope we have a similar age here, too. But once again, today's show was brought to you by SeatGeek and Casper. Music was provided by Chuck Dietz and Steph Legrato. Staff writer Eddie Santiago. Program director Justin Poulin. For CLNS's founder Nick Gelso, I am Larry H. Russell. Thanks to everyone who downloaded today's show. Hope everyone does the same next Sunday for another edition of Celtics Beat, powered by CLNS Radio.